Hey guys, what's going on? I wanted to come in here real quick and talk about two theories of Chapter 30 that I don't think hold any value and do not really look like the actual outcome for the killer that we're going to be getting for Chapter 30. And these two killers are Jigsaw from Saw and Candyman from the Candyman franchise. Now, like I've said before, Chapter 30 is one of the most mysterious chapters we've had in a long time, because we thought we would have had some sort of teaser or hint by now, which we really don't. So, a lot of IPs are still up for debate, and these are two IPs that are still up for debate, and Saw actually just recently came into the spotlight, whereas Candyman has been a desired IP for a killer for a very long time. And Candyman does make sense to an extent, but first I'd like to come and debunk the idea of Saw, specifically John Kramer, coming into the game as a killer. To start off, we know that Saw just released its 10th film in the franchise, and it came out to be a very successful film, probably a lot more successful than a lot of us were thinking. So, of course it's in Beyond Behavior's radar, because money. For those of you who played Dead by Daylight, you already know that we have a Saw chapter in the game. We also have a killer, a map, and a survivor, that being Amanda, the Gideon meat plant, and Detective Tapp, respectively. So, Saw Chapter 2? Who would this include, really? A lot of fingers start pointing at John Kramer being the new killer introduced for Chapter 30 as the paragraph. And of course, it wouldn't make sense for him to come in as a paragraph and not a full chapter with a new survivor and map, because we already have Saw content in the game. The Gideon meat plant is pretty much exactly what you would want from a Saw map. So, a lot of people are thinking that John Kramer himself is going to come as the new killer, and I simply can't agree with this one. If you have ever watched the Saw franchise, you know that John Kramer is strictly against killing. So putting him in the game as a killer doesn't really make sense. The entire philosophy of John Kramer is giving people the ability to value their lives, which they foresaw before. So he puts them in these elaborate traps and elaborate games to have them find the will to live and continue living, and now, hopefully, a good life. We see this attempted with Amanda, and it was successful in the films, but that fell south quite quickly. Now, the reason that Saw has really been taken seriously as a potential Chapter 30 paragraph is because Dead by Daylight has been putting out some teaser trailers for something new about Saw. I'm thinking that it's some sort of legendary skin, maybe even a new map, who knows, but they've been putting out a lot of new advertising content that I'm going to show you right now. So this short video was dropped during what we thought was going to be teaser week, which ended up not being the case because the PTB did not drop. So a lot of people were looking for teasers inside this video and any sort of hints as to what the next Chapter 30 could be, and eventually everybody just settled on the fact that these are just Saw teasers for something Saw. As well as this video, Dead by Daylight also released these images saying in the caption, "You wake up here, what would you do?" Not really being a teaser for anything other than Saw. I went and looked at this in detail in-game, and everything is exactly as it seems in the pictures. This is just talking about Saw. So people started to think that Chapter 30 is going to be something around Saw. Now, where I can see that these theories come from, I really can't agree with them, because Chapter 30 is going to be a very hyped license. It is already a very hyped license, with ideas ranging from Vecna from Stranger Things to Pennywise to Candyman. There are so many theories. Can't of course forget Springtrap. So I don't think that they're going to bring back an old license that's already in the game and drop that for Chapter 30. They have deliberately said that Chapter 30 is going to be a license with a big L, meaning that this is going to be a license that is very desired by the community and a very prominent and popular license. Last time they said this, license with a big L, they were referring to Alien, which is one of the biggest horror franchises of all time. So I don't think they're going to go back and add more Saw content for Chapter 30 and compare that with the size of Alien. This is going to be something either Alien level or bigger. I am not at all saying that Saw is not a massive franchise. As we just saw, they released their 10th film, and it did really, really well in the box office. I just don't think that they're going to go back and use a license they have already used to be the Chapter 30 hyped license, the Chapter 30 killer that everybody has been speculating about. And they wouldn't just deliberately put teasers out showing that it's going to be Saw. So we now know that these teasers were nothing more than just for Saw content in the game, but they are not going to be Chapter 30. Now, following the same ideology, I feel the same way about Candyman. Candyman is a very popular franchise, especially amongst the horror slasher community, but it's not a franchise big enough to be a quote-unquote license with a big L. It is a bit more of a niche license, especially in comparison to other very popular slasher films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street. Candyman is a bit more of a niche license and doesn't really fit the idea of a license with a big L. Now, don't get me wrong, I very much enjoyed Candyman and have watched a lot of the films in there, especially the new remake one. I thought it was really great. But I personally would not compare Alien to Candyman. These are franchises on two completely different levels. James Cameron's Alien is absolutely insane. Multi-million-dollar, amazing films, crossovers with Alien vs. Predator, and still new films like Prometheus, which are expanding on the Alien universe, and this is a scale that Candyman just simply cannot compare to. But yes, I will absolutely argue that Candyman coming into the game as a paragraph makes a lot of sense, especially when compared to him coming to the game as a chapter. It would make sense just to drop the Candyman in the game as a killer without a survivor or a specific map, because at the end of the Candyman movie, we see that the main protagonist does end up becoming a villain by the end, so she really wouldn't fit in as a survivor. And Candyman takes place in a bit of a city kind of look, and it's not really something I see being put into Dead by Daylight, and I don't think that Candyman needs a map to be dropped into the game and successful. I think him coming into game as a standalone killer would be absolutely perfect, but I don't think that it's good enough for Chapter 30. I have had a few people in my comments saying that it could be Candyman, it's probably going to be Saw, and of course Predator. But these are three that I just can't see coming right now. My best guesses are still there with Pennywise, Vecna, and Springtrap. And I really hope that I'm right about at least one of these, because I would absolutely love to see these IPs come into the game, and I think that these three IPs are big enough to be Chapter 30, excluding maybe Five Nights at Freddy's, which is a bit more of a niche license. But nobody can argue that the It franchise with Pennywise wasn't absolutely massive, especially when the new films had come out. And of course, Stranger Things is as big as it has ever been with its release of Stranger Things 4. Stranger Things 4 has completely changed the game when it comes to streaming and horror and sci-fi. So Stranger Things 4 still looks like it's going to be the most likely on my radar, but I could be wrong. So yeah guys, I just wanted to hop in here real quick and talk about why I don't think that either Saw or Candyman are going to be the Chapter 30 paragraph. It just doesn't seem likely to me. But thank you so much for joining me once again. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been showing me and all of this guesswork and mysteries that we're trying to solve with Chapter 30. And yeah guys, just appreciate you so much. Thank you and take care.